Okay, so I had a couple requests in the comments for the calculator tutorial asking about adding a square root button, and then also, or how to do square root functions, and also how to move all of our math calculations or our math logic, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and I guess now square root, to a separate class. And so what I'm going to do in this tutorial really quickly, hopefully, is show you guys how to do that. Now, I've already gone ahead and just knocked out the square root stuff, so let me just talk through that real quick. Basically, I added another square root button. I simply just copied over one of these guys and then just, reduce size or whatever. Um, if you look at, if you select the square root button or when you add your square root button for the click event, you need to use the same operator click method handler, event handler that these same operators are using. And if we go behind the scenes and we look at operator click, our method that we have handling all of our operators, basically I added two pieces. I added this right here, which essentially is saying if there is no value, and if you recall, value is what we're storing the first operand in, essentially in our equation. So if we want to do 5 minus 3, the value would hold the first number, which would be 5. Once we hit minus 3, either we would hit another operand or operator, or we hit the equal button, and then the sum or the product or whatever the difference we were calculating would be then stored in value. So if we're doing square root, we won't necessarily have two operands, right? In fact, we won't have two operands. We'll have one. So value should always be 0. But we don't want to assume anything else either down here. So basically I added another case that just checks to see if the button that was pressed is the square root button. If the button that was pressed is the square root button, then basically we update our text box with basically the square root of the number, and then we store that number in value in case you want to continue doing additional operations on it. So the way that you do square root, or the way you calculate square root, is by using math.square root, and it takes a double value as its argument. So I'm just parsing result.text. If you recall, this is result.text. I'm just parsing that out into a double, passing it to math.square root, and then showing the result here in our text box. I added similar logic up here just in the event that someone has already done a little bit of math. Someone did 5 minus 1, and the answer is 4, and then you hit the square root button, we want to see that 2 comes up, right? So it's going to play off of if there's a value already stored in the value variable. I should have said at the beginning of the video, this this change right here that I just kind of walked through, I'm sort of picking up right where we left off in the last tutorial for this particular calculator. I think there's either 2 or 3 different YouTube videos kind of walking through this particular project. So if you haven't made it this far through the tutorials, I'd recommend doing that first, or you could simply kind of see what's going on here. This isn't too complicated. So again, add a button. Make sure you have an event handler specified for it. I would use the same event handler that we're using for all the other operators. And then these two pieces of code are what I added. So if we run this guy now, and we have a couple different cases, right? If I just do 9 square root, we get 3, right? That's what we're expecting. If I do 5 minus 1 equals 4 square root, I get 2. So basically those two different cases kind of account for that logic and allow it to work how we want it to. Okay? Now the other piece of it was how could we add a separate class to handle our math functions for us. And so what I'm going to do now is kind of walking us through that. So if all you cared about was square root and you don't care about this, then you can kind of turn it off now. If you want to see how to use maybe a separate class to store all of your arithmetic operations, then keep on listening. We'll go through that now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on my project or my solution, and I'm going to add a class. And simple enough, we're just going to call this guy operators. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to talk about a couple things. We want this to be a static class. This isn't going to be something that we're going to instantiate ever. This is basically going to serve just as a library of methods for us to use. We're not going to create any objects with this or anything like that. It's just basically a way for us to store our operators or our operations, I'm sorry, probably what I should call this, operations, in a separate class. So everything that we do in here is going to be public. Well, not everything. It doesn't have to be. But what we're going to do in here is going to be public, and it's going to be static. Because we don't want the user or whoever's using this to have to necessarily instantiate this particular class to use it. So, for instance, let's look at how we might do the add method, right, or the add functionality. Public static add is going to return probably an integer, right? It could return a double, and we'll talk about it in a second. We'll call it add, and it's going to take two arguments, right? Int number one and int number two, right? And basically, all this is going to do is return one plus int2. Very, very simple, right? Now, I think we have a decimal point on our form, right? So, this is a possibility that we could be dealing in decimals or doubles. So, I'm going to go ahead and add a second version of this where we accept decimals, right? Still called add. The only difference, though, is they're different methods, right? They're two different signatures. So, if when we try to call this method, if we pass two integers, this is the method that will get used. If we pass two decimals, this is the method that will get used, right? And it's really, really simple now. If we come back into our form where we do our add work, right? So here's where we add. So instead of this, I'm just going to copy this by over and change this. We can do something like this. Let's just call that operators. Operators dot add. And we want to add value, and we want to add whatever is stored actually at this point in time, right? Right, so this is yelling at me because value must be an integer. And value is a double. So let's go back in here, let's make this double. So value is a double. Oh. Now it should be on. Okay. So basically what we're doing is we're saying we want to use the operators class, right? We just created this as part of our project. And inside the operators class, there's a method called add that accepts two doubles. This is a double value. This is a double value. It's going to do the math for us. It's going to return that value, and then we're going to store it into the text box, right? It's doing essentially the same thing we're doing here, except now we are using a separate class to do the math for us. So let me run this, and we'll just try out our add functionality, right? Make sure it still works. So 3 plus 2 is 5. 3.6 plus 0.4 equals 4. Right? So we're getting these expected values, getting what we think we should see. And it really is that simple. Now, a couple things that I would talk about when we're doing this. If I were to make this private, private means that this method can't be accessed by anything outside of this class. Now, if I make that private and I come back down here, this guy's going to be yelling at me. And the reason he's going to be yelling at me is he's going to say, I can't see a method called add that accepts two double values, right? Because we don't have a public method that accepts two values. We have a public method that accepts two integers, and if we change those to integers, that would work just fine, right? Because that is a public method. Oops, let me just show you. One. Right? You see, now it's not observed anymore, right? Because we're passing it two integers. And if we look at our add method, we have the one that's public that accepts two integers. If we make this public again, actually, before I do that, let's make this guy public. Alright. So as you can see, I mean, this isn't rocket science, right? So we could do the same thing for all the other methods, right? So add, sub, subtract. So let's do it this way. Instead of using parse, which is really push. Oh, you know what? I'm tripping out about all this. This returns a double. That's what it's showing me about. It's not showing me about this. It's showing me about this. There we go. Sorry. And then the same thing here. Right? We don't need to do anything crazy here. Okay. So let's go back to our form. And again, we're going to do something basically just like this. So we're going to change the method. Right, so this is add sub right? And then where we actually called our square root was up here. So what we can do is operator square root. Cool, and it really is that simple. You know, not a whole lot to it. If we run this guy now, we should basically get the same linear 6 divided by 3 equals to 2 times 9 is 18, minus 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16, square root is 4. Alright, so there you go. Pretty simple example of how to use a separate class to basically hold all your math functions, and then basically how to reference that class or how to call those methods and pass their values and so forth. So hope this helps you out. Good luck.